You know, this week is indeed about shocking the system, from announcing that Mr. Fretz is part of our team, to announcing the fact that I will be going to the 35th annual Wrestlemania. Welcome to the Game Changer, once again, ladies and gentlemen, where it is indeed time to change the game. I am indeed Nate the Effing Great, and I have a very special guest here today. I am being joined here by somebody that I've described as the Bobby Heenan of professional wrestling. His opinions can matter sometimes, but most of the time he likes to shoot his mouth off. But he is still an incredible individual, a member of the King of the Ring podcast, also Wrestle Addict Radio. Definitely check out a lot of the great stuff that he is a part of. He is indeed Mr. Willie T. How's it going, good sir?
Yeah, man, I'm shocked. there was a lot of stuff going on here these past few weeks. I'm still fucking mad at Dave for picking Kairi Sane.
No.
I'm just gonna straight up fucking say that. If I pick that Pepper because fucking Kairi Sane and Dave despite me, I'm gonna make him eat two of them. I am doing fantastic on this Friday. I was at the Story So Far concert. I bought a flag. It is hanging in my room. It's just a giant fish on it, and it was a great purchase for $25 American. Nate, how are you doing? I'm ready to get here, shoot the shit, and just see where this conversation goes. I'm gonna piss the people off, as they say.
I mean, I'm doing pretty fantastic. Right now, one of the things that I am definitely thankful for is the fact that I was able to get my tickets today, because you did mention that one of your friends told us that this event sold out in less than 30 minutes. Actually,
yeah, shout out to my friend Ferdy, who texted me woke up to 6 messages, like, yo, I'm in line, like, I'm in the virtual line, 33 minutes and counting, let's go, I got this, fuck, it sold out. I was like, wait, I woke up, I was like, wait a minute, wait, back up here. What? What do you mean it's sold out? There's 70,000 seats, how can he sell out in like an hour?
It literally took like less than an hour to do it, and I was having such a hard time with internet and with connections, and they sold out really fast. I was thinking, like, okay, I got this set of seats. Nope, didn't work. Crap. How about this set? Nope. Damn it. Nope. How about this? No. How about this? I'm literally doing like, I think 7 or 10 times just trying to get the right seats, and finally saying, oh, hey, these are available. Like, good. I don't care. It's fine. We're still going to WrestleMania. It's still going to be probably pretty good. I say pretty good just because of how last year kind of went. Because, well, let's face it, that main event match with Roman and Brock just absolutely sucked balls. So
it was. That's because we made it suck balls. We kind of ruined it. I was so tired at that point. Like, I just kind of sat on my hands and just watched the beach balls and listened to the chants. That's pretty much what I did. But the card itself, like kicking off with Seth Rollins winning that IC belt, the Ronda Rousey obliterating expectations, Asuka tapping, like, there was a lot of good shit. Kid Rock nowhere to be seen. There was a lot of good things from that card that kind of go under the radar. John Cena getting squashed. You know, back in the day, I said John Cena was going to want to break the streak. Like, when I first started watching wrestling and realized the streak was a thing, I'm like, oh, John Cena's going to break it. Obviously. And I couldn't have been more wrong. He got squashed in like a minute and a half.
That was the one time. I think that's the one moment where a lot of people are just like, you know what? We say a lot of shit about John Cena, but this moment right here kind of forgives at least part of it. Like,
the past few years of his career, he stopped being, I guess, selfish, for lack of a better word, or Vince stopped being selfish. It was like, okay, listen, like, we're going to use you to put guys over in good matches, and you're going to win when you really need to. Like, the past 4 or 5 years of John Cena have been probably the best of his career, and that's why I'm the biggest John Cena mark out there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, look at some of the matches that he had in the last few years. I mean, people don't really give it too much credit, but I thought Roman versus Cena was actually really good. And, of course, a lot of fans were just shitting on it, saying, like, no, it's bad, it didn't live to our expectations. Like, what do you want from these guys? I mean, Roman is basically trying to be Roman, and Cena is doing everything. He throws, like, the kitchen sink at Roman, and literally it wasn't enough. And I just remember that conversation that he was having where it's like, I think I'm going to try and change my finishing move. And, of course, we got the awesome, quote-unquote, 6th move of Doom, which is like a, Super Saiyan punch or something like that? I don't even know.
I don't know, man. He's working with Jackie Chan or someone on a new movie in China, training, and I don't know, dude, it just looks silly. It just looks silly. He looks sillier than his goofy dad haircut. His Channing Tatum, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg mashed up into one person wannabe fucking dad. It's very weird. It's very odd.
Yeah, just the moment just seeing him with that hair, I'm just like, wow, this is too weird for me. Can you go back to when you had like that, army style haircut and stuff like that?
Yeah.
At least then you look kind of badass. Not full on, but at least sort of. But now you just look like you're trying to be a next Mark Wahlberg or something like that, which it's not bad, but it's just one of those things where, like, this just doesn't fit you at all.
Hey, he played a great Mark Wahlberg in Trainwrecked, that fucking Amy Schumer movie.
That's right.
I don't like Amy Schumer. I'm one of those people who doesn't like Amy Schumer. But Trainwrecked was really funny. She wasn't that funny. But LeBron James and John Cena were fucking hilarious in that movie. I'm not a big fan of SNL people either. I'm not a big fan of Bill Hader either. He annoys me. So I was going into this movie like, this is not going to be a good movie. But I left out going, you know what? There were parts of that movie that was really funny. Bill Hader can say he scored on LeBron James.
It's one of those things where I talked about this earlier this week with SoCal Val, that John Cena definitely does seem to excel when it comes to trying to portray like a comedy character. When he was doing like the whole action hero deal, this was of course where Cena was starting to build up as the, he won't stay down. So people are just like, it's hard to take him seriously, so what the fuck. But now that he's doing a lot more comedy stuff, I mean, you mentioned he did Trainwreck. He was in I think it was Sisters with Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. He was also in Blockers earlier this year, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. I thought teaming him up with Ike Barinholtz from Mad TV and Leslie Hamm was an awesome trio. They just knocked it out of the park, and I think it's definitely one of those movies that I will be definitely putting on my list. Hopefully next week I'll get to my list of top movies of the year. But yeah, that was one of those movies that it just started off the year with a bang, and I'm literally like, oh wow, this such a dark comedy, but so good, and I think John Cena was one of the best things about it.
Oh, don't forget the best John Cena movie of all time, 12 Rounds.
Oh gosh.
Dude, I'm not even kidding, dude. I went into 12 rounds with zero expectations, and I came out going, you know what? I liked it. I like to the point where I'd probably watch it again. I might watch it tonight if I have nothing to do. Like, fuck, I'm going to put 12 rounds on with John Cena. I think, if I remember correctly, who the fuck's the creepy guy who hits on Sansa in Game of Thrones? Littlefinger. I think Littlefinger's the bad guy. I might be wrong, but for some reason I just picture Littlefinger putting John Cena through 12 rounds.
Oh man, when anybody has the nickname Littlefinger and they're trying to be a villain, it's one of those things that's almost hard to take them seriously, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, that could actually be one of those badass names that just, sends like a chill down your spine. It's like, you'll be tested by Littlefinger. And there's a part of you that's kind of...
I thought it was a boxing movie. Oh my god, it is! I just IMDb, dude. Fucking it is. It's Littlefinger. I don't know how the fuck I pulled it out of my ass, but I do.
That's
dude,
awesome.
Peter Baelish, dude, dead ass. Like, I have this talent. I might have touched on this the last show, but I have this talent for just pointing out random people in movies and go, oh my god, that's so and so from so and so. Like, we were watching Freaks and Geeks. My brother and his friends were watching Freaks and Geeks when I was in high school. And I go on, the main character, I go, is that the crazy chick from the asylum from Good Burger? they're like, what? And let alone, you go to IMDb, they go, holy shit, that is the crazy chick from the asylum in Good Burger, Demented Hills.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. And
so I can hang my hat on being good at something.
I want to just do this little random note here. I made a post earlier about Chelsea Green. I said, like, I would want her to come out during, like, maybe like a WWE show, maybe even during, like, NXT, and have her basically address the whole, affair that she had with Daniel Bryan, where literally she just comes out and just says, like, yeah, that was a bold-faced lie. Because let's face the fact that no world champion could handle a hot mess. I'm just like, dude, if she were to say that, I will literally lose my mind and say that she's my favorite wrestler. I don't care what anybody says anymore. She just literally took one of the worst angles of that entire year and she turned it into something amazing. But then I also said it after that. I said, like, I'm also hoping that she doesn't block me because I respect Chelsea. And then somebody responds after that saying, blocked. Then, now, forever. And thankfully, I actually have her on my notifications, and it said, like, Chelsea Green tweeted. So I'm like, oh, thank God she has not blocked me. Thank God. Because I was worried that I was going to end up like Dave, where he got blocked by Zelina Vega.
I want to know what he did, man. I seriously want to. If I ever meet Zelina Vega, I'm like, yo, KOT_Dusty Dave, what did he do? You can tell me. Whatever you're gonna tell me, I believe it. At McKeeb's, shout out to McKeeb's old Hofstra bar. On the sign it said, if Creepy Dave, meaning Dave, references you, get in for free. So Dave has a moniker. Dave has a lot of monikers, but Creepy Dave is always and forever number one.
Oh, man. It's always weird whenever you're, just tweeting about something, and then you look at your Twitter, and it's like, wait, how come I can't, tweet about this person? How can I get a tweet about them? And then you find out that you're blocked by them, and it's like, okay, what the did I do? Because I remember, I think, a couple years ago, I was tweeting about Kevin Owens, and the next thing I know, I'm like, wait, I can't talk about Kevin Owens. Why is that? Look over, and it's like, oh, he blocked me. Okay, I don't know what I did, but that's... Ouch. But at the same time, Kevin Owens is Kevin Owens, so maybe I did...
You kind of look like Kevin Owens. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it is. He's like, dude, his beard's better than mine.
Oh, man, if Kevin Owens is jealous of my beard, then that's one of those things where it's like, I'm sort of proud of that, but at the same time, I can't be Kevin Owens. He's Kevin Owens, goddammit. Oh, God. He's Kevin Owens. And now
this is kind of a left field question, but this is a swerve, if you will. Congress made it a law that Donald Trump can't block people on Twitter anymore.
Really?
Like, this is something that happened a while ago, and I think it's kind of bullshit. Why can't he block someone? Because he's the president? To my knowledge, I've never been blocked by anyone on Twitter, nor have I blocked anyone. Then again, I don't really use Twitter. I don't really get Twitter, to be honest.
Right.
But I don't know the shame or pride how it is to be blocked or block someone. But I think everyone should have the power to block someone no matter who they are.
Hey, that's fair. I mean, I think that's just one of those things where it is pretty stupid that they just say, like, oh, nope, you can't block anybody. It's like, why? Are you basically just saying that you don't have the right to, free speech, basically? That's where it's going to boil down to. It's like, this is free speech. This is us, expressing our opinion. And you're saying that our president can't do that? Wow, our country's going down the shitter real fast every single time they do something stupid like this. Just, wow. I will say this, that one of the people I am proud that I definitely blocked was Enzo, especially after that stupid rap video that he did.
His consensual penis?
Yep.
Hey, man, he's innocent.
This is true, but it's just one of those things where he does that rap video and it still rubs me the wrong way. I'm like, okay, I kind of understand why people hate him. I'm not going to deal with him anymore. And I even watched the interview with Simon Gotch where he actually buries Enzo, and I'm like, oh, that's why people don't like him. Okay. That makes even more sense for me to not want anything to do with him. Speaking of consensual penis, this is a weird segue. Did you hear the news about James Ellsworth?
No. Does he have a kid coming?
In the show GTS, he does. But
no.
in real life, I guess he sent some naughty pictures to a minor.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, was it his chin?
Oh, it
dude.
could.
Okay, well, define minor, because every state defines minor in different ways.
The main
thing
in
Jersey, or maybe New York, I know in New York it's 17.
Right.
But in other states it's 18. So if he sent it from Jersey, he might be good. But if he was in California, you know what? We got some blurred lines there. I don't know, man. Call a judge. Call Kavanaugh. See what he says.
There have been reports that the main thing they've been saying is that she's underage. So again, that can go in so many different directions. But it's still one of those things where it's like, dude, are you seriously that lonely? And I think I remember, what was her name? I think it was CM Smiley. Wasn't it during your guys' show where she mentioned he hit on her or something like that? I can't remember exactly, but
I don't think it was Ellsworth. Yeah, I think she said it wasn't. It might have been CM Smiley because she's from Florida. I think she said Lars Sullivan hit on her.
Oh, okay.
Or something like that. Maybe, or yeah, it was someone. It's like Lars Sullivan was like hitting on him on Tinder or something like that. Like, which is hilarious because I mean, it's like to a point you're famous, but look at you. You look like a Keebler elf, ate 15 other Keebler elves, and did steroids with Jose Canseco.
Oh, Jesus.
So, like, and he's all hairy and bald and has pointy ears. Like, if someone wants 10,000 of him for his fighting Urukai.
Oh, God. Okay, so I kind of looked up the like, what people are saying. Apparently, she's 16.
Yeah, you know that's a minor everywhere in this country. Maybe if she's from like Thailand or something, or some parts of Europe. But in America, yeah, 16. Yeah, don't do that.
God dang. It's one of those things where, oh, God, and there's people that have evidence about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, God. It's another one of those situations where I guess it is, innocent until proven guilty, but if there's evidence, it's like, dude, no, just why? Why would this even be? It's one of those things where it's like, dude, you just if you really did do this, you basically screwed the rest of your career. I mean, first part of it was
screw career. He's screwed the rest of his life. He might have to be a registered sex offender. Where there's anybody who should be a registered sex offender that would be like, yeah, he's a registered sex offender. It's fucking James Ellsworth.
Oh,
I mean, look at him. But you mentioned innocent until proven guilty. I kind of want to avoid politics, but innocent until proven guilty is completely dead in this country. You are now guilty until proven innocent, with specific cases. If it's anything sexual, it's guilty until proven innocent. Which is kind of unfortunate. But if it's anything like, legality, like a crime, yeah, you still have due process and all that bullshit. But this is a whole nother show that is actually in development. Nate, I have a new show coming. I'm going to break it on your show.
All right.
There's a new show coming. It's called You Mad Bro, where it's with me and a friend are going to talk about what the fuck the internet's so mad about every week. like this week would be... Oh, what was the fucking Serena Williams had something. Like GQ put a magazine out of like all the men of the year, and then they put out one of Serena Williams on the cover, and it was in quotes woman of the year, and people were all butthurt and angry because they used quotes for woman.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait. That's what you're mad about? That's what you're mad about? First of all, Serena Williams is a fucking animal. It's a fucking beast. So, that's the kind of shit we'll be talking about.
Jeez. Yeah, and honestly, it's one of those shows that I think I would actually listen to, because the fact is, it's always interesting to hear the stupid stuff that people get mad about, because we're in a point right now where you can't say, anything without somebody being offended. You can't even say, they're wrong without somebody correcting you, just saying, oh, no, it's pronounced there. It's like, are you serious? You know what I meant? Just shut up and just answer my question. Are you really just going to be the part of the grammar police? Yes, I am. I hate you.
I need a tagline, but I'm thinking offend everyone. Because I am not Democrat or Republican. I'm not registered for either. It depends on the issue. I lean towards both. My friend is also the same way, and he just thinks very logically and uses history to back it up. So it's kind of like I want to get him going, and get him on a fucking tangent, and it's just so entertaining. It's been so many just drunk nights, 3 a.m. We're talking about whatever, just whatever. It was like, dude, this needs to be a show.
I think your first tagline should be offending everybody, and then have a parentheses, especially Dusty Dave since day one.
Dude, Dave is so fucking PC.
I do know. I want to actually talk about that, because there's been a lot of times, especially the last few weeks, where you and him get into some very heated conversations, whether it's about something that's, really dumb or something that's like, wow, I did not expect this to be a big deal, but now that they've kind of brought it like this, it's like, okay, this is actually kind of a bigger deal. And of course, you guys do talk about wrestling, but obviously there's something there where literally the two of you just get so heated in like, you know, you could be like calm and collective, and then next thing you know, it takes one snap of a finger, and it's just like,
it does.
It's like, you know, you hit the switch, here's the heated conversation. And that's the best example was this past week in Kings of the Rings, where he, out of spite, picked Kairi Sane over Shayna Baszler.
Fucking asshole. Asshole. See, here's the thing. I love fucking with Dave. Fucking with Dave is one of my favorite things to do. I'm going to be straight up honest. They say in life you can only... I will defend Dave to the end of my days. Dave is one of my best friends. They say you can count your best friends on your hand. You have 5 best friends in your life that come on your hand. Dave's the middle finger. Dave is one of my best friends, but on that hand, he's the middle finger. Specifically on the show, like... I'm a character. I play a character, and part of that character is making fun of Dave. And it brings a lot of entertainment and fun to the show. But I love Dave. Like it's like one of those things. Like if someone else fucks with Dave, I'll be the first one to tell him to fuck off. Like only I can fuck with Dave. But no, like sometimes he just takes it. I think he takes it a little too personally. Just like David is fucking around. Sometimes like when he fucks around back with me, it's like ooh. It stings. It stings, dude. It's like, you do it with malice, I do it with love. Even the thing now, I'm going to get a group, Will, fuck you, man. Like, I'm just waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. When does your show release?
I think it already released right now. It released earlier today. So.
No. You did this show recording right now.
Oh, it's going to be recorded, like, probably, it's going to be out, like, after we get everything all said and done. So, it's going to be, like, an immediate deal.
Alright, so I'll be hearing about it in an hour and a half then.
I will be sure to have, you know, Dave tagged in this and just being like, oh, we talk about you and it's one of the best things ever.
Love you, Dave. Most of the time.
Shout out to you, Dusty Dave. Awesome individual, and looking forward to trouncing you next month. But because he and I still have to figure out the tiebreaker, because literally I'm still pissed about this, and this is where I think this is where the origins of my beef with Demon Diva, Issa from Rant With That comes from. The fact that fucking Brock Lesnar decides to come in during the Roman Reigns Braun Strowman deal. It's like, if I would have lost, I would have been okay with it. Like, I had no problem losing to you at Super Show because there was not, like, stupid endings or shit like that. There was just some parts of it.
You had to watch a movie. That's all you had to do. You had to watch a movie.
It's one of those things where... watch Super Showdown. It's like some parts are just really, really sad. Not as sad as, you know, the event that shall not be mentioned, but apparently decides to have one of the McMahon's wins. Lols, great, we're back in that era again. But no, going back to Hell in the Cell, it was a great show. It was one of those shows I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. Oh my gosh, this could be one of the best shows of the year. And then it ends with, you know, Brock Lesnar coming out and just saying, like, yeah, I'm going to rip the door off. Okay, that was kind of cool. And then,
that cost me money, dude. I was so pissed. Like, I didn't lose money, but I didn't win money. I was very angry.
It was one of those things where I know she's the biggest, you know, Brock Lesnar mark, so it's like she's the easiest target for me to kind of vent my anger at, where it's just like, I blame you because I know for a fact that you have connections with Brock. You probably called him up and just saying like, oh, you know that matchup between Braun and Roman? Yeah, we don't want that. Let's just fuck everybody up.
Let's fuck shit up.
And so, for a lot of people that are curious as to why I have so much, you know, malice against Demon Diva, that kind of where it starts from. But again, it's one of those situations where I'm going to say this right now. There's going to come a future date where you'll find out another reason why I'm not scared of her as much, even though people are basically saying, you know, you're signing your death warrant, right? It's like, dude, I don't care. I've honestly faced worse. I am going to say that right now, but you'll find that out in a future episode. So definitely, you know, if you're kind of curious, I'm going to keep that under wraps for right now because there is going to come a point in time where I will reveal why. But again, that's for a future time. That's why a lot of people are, you know, probably curious, but there's also other people that are saying like, yeah, even if you tell us what it is, you're probably still going to die. It's like, I don't care. I know how to counter the super kick. I've seen it done like, you know, how many times have they even done it like this year? See, we got Young Bucks, we got Kevin Owens, we got... let's just say, like, you know that Infinity Stone? Yeah, it's got its own Infinity Stone. That's how many times the super kick has been hit this year.
It's like the new Christ, like the new chain wrestling. This happens every match. Everyone gets one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everybody hits it, and, it sucks because one of the best wrestlers of all time, Shawn Michaels, came back, and when you hit it, it's just one of the things where it's like, you've seen it done before.
It's like, oh yeah, you do this too?
I was the originator. Yeah, so we have you to thank for this. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you. And
is he the first person to do a super kick as a finisher, at least?
I feel like he is, but they're probably...
He might be. He's one of the famous.
There's going to be like one person that's going to be like, oh no, this person from New Japan, he did it first, or no, this person on the indie scene, he did it first, the finisher, and blah, 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 blah. There's probably going to be somebody like pissed off.
Let's be real, probably. So there's someone on Twitter who's going to correct
us. Honestly, if it's Dave or King Ricky, I wouldn't be surprised, but that's neither here nor there.
That's one.
I am kind of hoping to get to 3, but I'll try and squeeze them in every now and then. So, obviously, this year, I will be talking a bit about some of the best as well as some of the worst movies that have indeed come out this year. Some of the best I've talked about on my show with Val, a lot of the comedies that came out. I definitely will say this. I'll talk about more of the recent ones that I've seen. Did you get a chance to see that new Halloween movie that came out?
No, I've never seen a Halloween movie.
Well, basically, geez, I know that...
I know, it's weird. Like, as for someone, for me, being a movie buff and being a movie connoisseur, there's a lot of movies I haven't seen. Like, all those big franchises I've just never seen, and Halloween is one of them. I've never seen, like, a Freddy vs. Jason. I've never seen Halloween. I've never seen, like, a lot of those horror slasher movies I've just never seen. But I've heard a lot of mixed things about this Halloween movie. People who are, like, big fans of the franchise weren't a big fan, but kind of casual moviegoers, they said they fucking loved it.
Yeah, I was one of those people because I saw the first Halloween. I think it was definitely before I saw this one, because basically all people said was, okay, you just need to see the first one because this is kind of like a sequel to that movie, because if you go further on down the franchise, it gets like really messy where they go through like all these different timelines where it's like, oh, this person's related to this person, or this person is, doing this and blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, so definitely just focus on the first one. Yeah, focus on the first one. You'll get all you need to know for this Halloween movie. It was actually done very well. There were actually some legitimate points where I was like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of freaky. The kill count was definitely pretty high. I think higher than I was expecting it to be. And some of the kills were just absolutely brutal. There's some points where I'm like, oh, God, no. Just, wow. And just that scene where where literally those two kids bump into Michael Myers, and they're just like, oh, sorry, mister. And he just walks off casually like nothing even happened. I'm like, good to know he still has a soft spot for kids, where I don't see him like, murdering any of them like a Freddy Krueger or probably a Jason would. But it's just one of those things where it's like, well, at least he doesn't, go into that. I think there's even one scene where he passes by a crib, he just looks down at the baby, and then he just walks away. I'm like, thank you, God. I do not want to see infant genocide in this movie.
Yeah, killing children is like something you don't see on TV or like movies. Like, it gets referenced, but it's not something you actually see all that often.
Yeah, and for obvious reasons, because it's going to be one of those things that will be very controversial, and people will just be like, yeah, we're not going to talk about this movie anymore. But just those kind of moments where it's like you're still in the suspense, it kind of gives you that. You're just hoping they don't go through with it.
Yeah, it's a horror movie. It's a slasher flick. There's no need for a political statement of killing children in a fucking Michael Myers movie.
Jesus. Also, another good movie that came out this year that was kind of very underrated, but I just remember watching it with Agent Cooper. We watched that movie Hellfest, and it was honestly pretty suspenseful and actually pretty good. The storyline was actually pretty convincing. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, hey, there's basically like this horror-filmed like theme park that goes around the world, and the thing is that they do not credit the killer in that. They don't mention him in the credit scenes. They don't mention who he is. You look everywhere, it's like they don't mention who this guy is. So it's like, oh shit! So you literally don't know who this person is, and it has one of the most twisted scenes where, spoiler alert, guys, they basically show him coming to his house, and he just takes off his mask, and he's like this wide range of like masks that he picks up over the years, and then he just walks into his house, and he's basically like a dad. He literally just shows a scene where he's talking to his daughter. She's coming up. He's like, "Daddy's home. How was work?" And I'm like, this is effed up, but also awesome at the same time. You never really see somebody being like, "Hey, I live a normal life. I just kill people."
Oh, that's the Iceman Killer.
Oh, really?
He was one of those people. It's a Michael Shannon movie called Iceman. So it's based on a true serial killer who was just a heartless motherfucker. Like he has a bunch of HBO documentaries about like him being interviewed in jail, and they made a movie about his life about Michael Shannon. Like he lived a double life. Like during the day he was like a hitman and just a murderer, and at night like he just had a family life. He had a $2 a wife who had no fucking idea that he was actually like a hitman.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and Michael Shannon, fucking the guy was in Kangoo Jack, and now he's a serial killer.
Oh God.
But Nate, the Oscars are coming up. It's Oscar season pretty soon, and Oscar season is a very good time of year. But I believe Black Panther came out in what, February? Last February of this year.
Yeah, I think it was like February or January of this year.
Do you think it gets nominated for Best Picture? There's rumors saying it might be.
Oh, honestly, I think it should.
Wait, better question.
Yep.
Will it and should it?
I guess, will it get nominated for Best Picture? That's up in the air because we've had so many movies throughout the years that we've seen and people are just saying like, oh, this should have been nominated for Best Picture. This should have been nominated for Best Picture. There's a couple during last few years where I'm like, oh, this definitely should have been nominated. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but as far as Black Panther goes, it's kind of one of those things where I don't know where the Oscars or the Academy really thinks, but I think that it's one of those movies that's very hard to overlook because this is one of those things where it's a Marvel spinoff. It's one of those things where they just said, you know what, let's talk about this Black Panther deal, and it turns out to be one of the best movies of this year. I think it's only the second movie to get, I think, about $1 billion, if I'm not mistaken, was the box office.
Absurd like that.
Something like that. I mean, I think it comes like second to Infinity War, so it definitely is going to have a major presence on there. Will it? I'm going to go with a safe bet and say yes. And should it? Definitely. It definitely should. Because honestly, I looked at this and I thought, wow, this is almost like Marvel's telling of The Lion King, and it is actually done in the best possible way. And for those that are disagree with me, you kind of look at everything. They basically are training this young guy to be king. They have somebody basically trying to kill him to take over his kingdom. There's a scene where literally he talks to his dad, who is dead, and he's talking to a bunch of past kings and stuff like that, so it literally ties in almost exactly like it. And of course, the hero avenges for his kingdom at the end. It's one of those things where I look at this and I think, this is so well done, very well told. It's one of the first few movies that I think a lot of people really can look at and think, wow, that Marvel's not just about, fictional stuff. They actually incorporate some probably actual, tribe, what am I thinking? Traditions. There we go. It's very well done. So I'm hoping that it is, and it definitely should be. I think that if it's not even in the same, conversation as Best Picture this year, I think people are going to be pissed.
They will be pissed. People are already pissed at the Oscars. People are always mad at the fucking Academy for something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who wins. Doesn't matter what happens. People are always mad at the Academy. Now, will this be nominated? I did see Black Panther. I saw it in theaters, and I remember this is what I thought about it. It had very, very high expectations, like sky-high expectations. I walked out of theater and went, yeah, it hit all of them. No more, no less. It hit all the expectations perfectly. Now, this movie was kind of more than a movie. This was a very important movie for culture. People wet their fucking pants over this movie. People treat this movie like it's gospel. And I think the Oscars, the Academy, are so desperate for mainstream attention because, their viewership has gone down. The interest has gone down. I think this is a grab to get people in to watch the Oscars. So I think it's going to get nominated to get people in, but I think it's going to create a lot of controversy when it does or doesn't win. Because I could easily see it winning Best Picture just to make people fucking happy. but it would also make a lot of people unhappy. And I could see it getting nominated and not winning because it's like, oh, okay, at least it got the nomination. Then people are going to be so butthurt when some fucking artsy-fartsy movie, which should win, is going to win. Now, should it even get nominated? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not. I think this movie has no place anywhere near Best Picture. It's a fine movie, don't get me wrong. But you look at Best Picture films, like A Godfather, A Saving Private Ryan, A Forrest Gump, A Pulp Fiction, and I know not all those won Best Picture, but even like a Moonlight, like, it's not one of those captivating, emotionally driven, just like incredible movies. It's a summer blockbuster that had a lot of cultural significance. That's what it is. Like, I mean, Michael B. Jordan, sure, give him like a Best Supporting Actor. He was fantastic. The guy who played Black Panther, the rest of the supporting cast, like, I thought they were very run-of-the-mill, average performances. The visual effects, the fight scenes, the action scenes, the story, sure, fantastic. Like I said, this is a great movie that hit all expectations. But in the higher ups of film, like, there's a difference between film and movies. Black Panther's a movie. It's not a film. The Academy and the Oscars are for films.
Yeah, I definitely do see your point there. And it's one of those things where I think we talked about before the show, like, there's some opinions that, are going to matter, and there's some where I just will take it as a grain of salt. Now, this one is definitely one of those opinions where it's like, I see where you're coming from. And that's probably why the Oscars definitely had a lot of disinterest this year.
And remember, they had, like, they were going to have that, like, the popular movie, or, like the most, like the... I forgot the category was, but then they took it away like a month or two later, and that was made for Black Panther or Infinity War.
Yeah, that's right. So I do recall that.
That makes you think even more that Black Panther's going to be nominated. It makes you think even more it could win. Now, if it does win, I'm like, great, cool, who cares? So I'm not going to be like, fuck this, the fucking Lady Gaga should have won, the new space movie should have won. No, I'm not going to give a shit. I'll go, yeah, okay, but you know what? For the cultural significance alone, sure, I guess it deserves it. But for me personally, I think it has no business being anywhere near there. But, I mean, people see this movie as life-changing, and it can change the whole aspect of filmmaking. And from that lens, sure, it deserves all the praise it gets. But I think people are just overreacting because it's such a sensitive and weird society we live in.
Yeah.
Like, it's a movie. It's a fucking movie.
I mean, you make a good point. Honestly, I will say this, that I think this year I only remember bits and pieces of it because that was the year. This is the year that I got completely, like, blackout. I would almost say blackout drunk. I only remember, like, bits and pieces of it, watching it with my co-host VictoriBelle. And I do remember, like, there came, like, one point where I was so pissed off that one of my nominations didn't win, that I literally just went down to the ground and I just started doing, like, this ground pound deal that apparently my friends say that I do. They call it the Nate ground pound, where literally I just go down and I'm just, like, head first into the carpet or into the floor, and I'm just doing, like, this pounding deal on the ground where I'm just, like, that upset. Or, like,
there are certain things I will get very angry about. I shouldn't say that, but I shouldn't have said what I said earlier. Sometimes I do give a fuck about who wins that goddamn award. Like, I remember watching the trailer for Darkest Hour last year. I was like, oh, Gary Oldman's winning the Best Actor, hands down, for Winston Churchill. And if he didn't win, I would have been very angry. But luckily he did win, and he fucking deserved it.
He did an absolutely fantastic job. It was a pretty well done movie. I will admit that.
The movie itself was kind of boring, but okay. I mean, it was the Gary Oldman show. That's just what it was.
The Darkest Hour _ Gary Oldman show.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah, there are going to be quite a few interesting movies this year that will be nominated. I know that Quiet Place. I've definitely talked high about that. Would have been my favorite movie, but then I also had to reconsider, a couple of other options that were throughout the year. But honestly, Quiet Place is definitely one of those movies where it does a fantastic job. It almost has the same feel as, what was that one? Shape of Water last year, where the main sort of communication is indeed sign language, which you don't see that much in movies. And this is one of those examples where it's like, this is actually done very well. And there's a reason behind it, not just because, they can. It's because they have these aliens that can hear sound, even like small bits of sound, they can hear it. So they literally have
farts.
Oh man, that if that gets addressed in the sequel, because literally I think it was like a month after they said like, oh, there's a confirmed sequel for it. I'm like, I am okay with this. I want to see where this goes. But I will say this, that if Jim from The Office somehow is revived in this movie, I will be shocked, first off. But secondly, I think they said that he's still going to be featured in some capacity. Like, maybe he's going to do, like, there may be, like, these flashback scenes or something like that. Again,
I haven't seen it, so I guess you spoiled it for me. I guess he dies.
Yeah.
That's fine. I didn't see it, but, like, I heard about it, and I heard, like, the gimmick, and I go, ooh, that's interesting. It takes a lot of balls to make a movie like that. I gave Dunkirk the ballsiest movie of the award, like, ever. And I say Dunkirk is the greatest movie I've ever seen that I'll never see again.
It's just that good?
It's phenomenal. Like, it's you take one of the most important things in a movie, for Dunkirk specifically, which is characters, a plot, and, like, development. He throws it out the window and just makes it real. A Quiet Place takes one of the most fundamental things of a movie, which is sound. Obviously, like, how do you make a movie without sound? Like, and A Quiet Place kind of tackles it, and I actually do need to see it to see how they pull it off. From what I've heard, they pull it off very cleverly with sign language and, like, subtitles and whatever they do, but how do you make a movie without sound?
It's one of those things that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, because, back when, we did have, like, legit really good horror movies, there's always those moments where you're just, on the edge of your seat thinking, like, oh, man, they're going to go into this area, or they're going to go to this place, blah, blah, blah. And it feels like it's exactly the same way with this movie, where it's like you're always on the end of your seat because of the fact that there's literally little to no sound to it. You're always expecting, the sound to be, something like, like one of the creatures or something like that, or maybe like the wind. And it literally could be something that freaks you out, like, like a mouse crawling through the attic or something like that. You're just like, oh god, what was that? Oh, thank god. It wasn't one of those creepy monsters or something like that. It's just one of those things where it's a very well done movie. And honestly, I will say this, going into 2019, we still have a lot to look forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing Glass when it comes out.
Yes.
One of the most comedic movies probably of this year is going to be Detective Pikachu, which I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that.
I avoid trailers, but I was just like, what the fuck is this? I watched it, I'm just like, why is Pikachu like a stuffed animal? Like,
this is true.
I watched Pokemon religiously as a kid, and Pikachu didn't have fur, motherfuckers. Like, this isn't Ted, alright? Like, I don't know.
This is going to be one of those movies that I'm going to look at and think, this could have a good running with Ted, but I don't think it's going to beat it. I think that Ted and Ted 2 are definitely one of the best duo comedies that I've seen, especially when you consider all the subjects that they talk about. But, Ryan Reynolds starring as Pikachu, and literally he can only verbally talk to this one kid while everybody else just hears him do the classic, Pikachu. It's like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So this is literally like somebody saying, hey, we're taking real life Ash Ketchum and putting him in a movie. It's like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, but was Ash able to understand them, or is this that doesn't make any sense to me. That sounds ridiculous, to be honest. This whole movie sounds fucking ridiculous. So let me get this straight. Ash, this is what based on this movie logic, is what you're trying to tell me.
Uh-huh.
Ash could speak Pokemon, but he was the only one. Everyone else has heard Pika Pika, because I'm pretty sure when Misty speaks to like Goldeen or something, they understand. So I think that's just a Pokemon thing that Pokemon trainers can understand their Pokemon. Not only it's a different language, but I don't know. This is pretty like putting logic in an illogical situation. It's like booking wrestling. But this movie sounds like it shouldn't be made. I'm going to say that.
And this is also why we'll probably not get the Kings of the Ring Best of series yet. No, I'm kidding. Also, some other movies that are coming out next year. I recently just watched this, and I am excited for the sequel to this. Welcome to Zombieland has their sequel set for next year in October.
Dude, fuck Zombieland. That movie's terrible.
But it
sucks.
But it has Bill Murray. I mean, of course.
Oh, Bill Murray was amazing. Let's be real. Bill Murray deserves an Oscar for that one. but like Jesse Eisenberg, I hate him. Woody Harrelson. I hated Woody Harrelson, but it's only until recently I was like, fuck, Woody Harrelson's a really good actor. Like, Two Billboards, he was amazing. True Detective Season 1, he was amazing. Like, what else is he really good in?
Well, he was in The Hunger Games. I don't know if that makes a difference. But...
No.
Okay.
And like, watching children kill each other, nah, dude. Hunger Games is another fucking franchise I think shouldn't exist. Fuck, well, not Inglourious Basterds. One, it's like the black and white movie. It's like back at the... He has him and that sidekick chick that's murdering people. It's one of his earlier films. Not Generation Kill. Fucking... Natural Born Killers.
Oh, okay.
Excellent in that movie as well. So Woody Harrelson... I guess this is a dud for him. I fucking hate Zombieland. It's terrible.
Well, again, everybody has a right to their opinion, but whatever. We also have Captain Marvel coming out, as well as the second part of Infinity War, which I've mentioned on the Stanley Tribute show. I mentioned the fact that, they're probably going to have... This is going to probably be the last two Stanley cameos that we'll see, and that's going to be one of the reasons why it's going to probably rake in so much money. People are probably going to still criticize, the plot line and shit like that, but they're still going to see it just to see Stan Lee on the big screen one last time.
Apparently the rough cut's 3 hours.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. I literally saw that. I thought, I'm okay with this because they have so much that they have to get through. They have to get through, defeating Thanos, but they also have to develop new characters because if they are going to be killing off all the Avengers, they need to have, other characters that people can kind of, follow with. And it will be very tough. This is going to be a very risky movie, I think, in my opinion. I think Avengers 5 is going to be one of the most unpredictable, but also probably one of the most hard to create movies, depending on what they do.
Dude, I'm still on Winter Soldier. That's how far back I am, dude. There's so many fucking of these movies I haven't seen. Like, I've seen some of them here and there. Like, I've seen both Guardians of the Galaxy movies. But, like, in terms of the whole major plot line, yeah, I'm still on Winter Soldier. Like, fuck. You know me, dude. I don't give a fuck about Marvel movies really anymore. After the first Avengers, I was like, oh, great, that was amazing. I'm done. And then I've kind of sporadically here and there watched some of Phase 2. And Iron Man 2 is one of the best ones out there. People shit all over it.
Some people just shit on stuff because they just need something to shit on. I mean, you and I both know that from wrestling. They'll still find a reason to hate it. It's just like...
Yeah, fuck Roman Reigns.
They're not... I don't hear people saying that anymore. But
actually, I do want to point that out. All the fucking... Oh, I just farted, so I'd be dead if we're in a silent movie. Quiet Place, sorry. I do want to talk about Roman Reigns.
All right.
All the people who hated him for years, they don't have the fucking right to say thank you, Roman. They don't have the fucking right to chant for his name. They don't have the fucking right to be on his side now. You hated him all that time. I don't want to hear you bullshit saying thank you, Roman. 6 months ago you were wishing he had leukemia. Now that he has it, you're like, fuck, I'm an asshole.
No, I will agree with that. I think that is one.
The hypocrisy of wrestling fans. It's like when there's a thank you Roman chant, I don't chant because I was one of those people. Actually, I wasn't a Roman hater, but like I was one of those people who was like, oh, we got pushed on my foot. I didn't want him where he was, but so I support Joe, but fuck Roman Reigns. I stand by my principles.
I've been a Roman Reigns fan for quite a while, and I will say this: there have been some times where I've doubted what they've done with him. I will, now admit a lot of things that he's done have definitely been very either cringeworthy or just not like it. But I've never like full on hated him for something that he said. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I do agree with what you're saying. It's one of those things where people can be so bipolar and thinking, oh well, this guy, I hate him so much, and then literally he's like, well, he's donating to like kids in like second world countries and stuff like that. His free time, and I think Sami Zayn's a perfect example of that. He's literally I think he's still got that foundation for supporting kids in other countries. So some people could be like, "Oh, Sami Zayn sucks. He's stupid." Blah 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 blah. And then you find out about this, like, "Yeah, Sami Zayn's awesome." It's like, dude, shut up. You don't have a rights. You don't have a rights.
Yeah, like Roman Reigns, the character, hate him, terrible. Comes back, I'll probably boo him.
One person to boo.
It's because the character.
I know.
I mean, his in-ring work, amazing. I've always been a fan of his in-ring work, but his promos and his booking, I've never been a fan of. So fuck him. But the man, Joe, whatever, I don't know his last name, but Joe, whatever his Samoan name is. No, I've always had nothing but love and respect for the man, for his media appearances, how he deals with kids, like being the head of the company. He's always, from day one, I said that's why he's the guy, because what he can do out of the ring. So, always love and respect for the actual man. So I'm sticking to my principles. Roman Reigns, fuck him. Joe, annoy. Amazing. Love him.
I'm literally going to be looking forward to hearing Ricky and Dave just saying like, "Oh, you don't know Joe's last name," and you'll probably just be like, "You don't know his last name either," and they'll be like, "Yeah, I do. You didn't know after you looked at Wikipedia."
I can't pronounce it. I can't spell Shayna or Baszler. I might be dyslexic. I haven't gotten checked out. Actually, I think one day I was like, "Mom, have I ever been checked for dyslexia?" She's like, "No, you don't have it." I was like, wait. So I have taken the
test. And you plan on telling me this when?
I was like, you thought I had dyslexia? Because, dude, there'll be sometimes, like, I'm reading a word, and, like, I'll be reading a sentence, I'll say a word that's just not there. Like my brain and eyes are just like, sorry, dude, you're on your own.
It's just like, Roman Reigns is the greatest piece of crap of all time. No, it says Roman Reigns is the greatest superstar of all time. I know what I saw. I'm reading this article, and it says this shit. And other people are just like, no, it says superstar, it says superstar. It's like, I know what I saw. But also that's probably me just saying fuck Roman Reigns. It's just like that, oh man, it's like a kaleidoscope where you're just like shifting it around, and somehow superstar does look like it says crap.
What's more convenient for me right now?
Basically. Oh my god. But, oh man, I am so looking forward to going to WrestleMania this year. It's literally, like I've said, honestly, it was because of you guys that I got the, well, I will say King Ricky definitely started it. He definitely said, oh, dude, you're going to come to WrestleMania? You're going to come to SummerSlam? I'm like, well, I can't make it to SummerSlam. WrestleMania is a maybe. And it's just, again, you guys are just, like, edging me forward. It's like, come on, you want to. You want to.
Access is a blast. WrestleCon's a blast. NXT is a fucking blast. It's just a week of craziness. Thank God it's actually no. I wish it was in New Orleans again. I wish it was in New Orleans every year. I wish it was in God's cereal bowl every single goddamn year.
Oh man, I gotta also make sure I look out for those tickets for Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, as well as NXT Takeover, because I think that Takeover. Well, I think they're calling it Takeover New York instead of Takeover Brooklyn this year. I don't know why, but it's, I guess, what they're going with.
Yeah, it should be Brooklyn 5. That's what it is.
It literally is. But they decide, no, we're going to go down a different route. It's like, why? Brooklyn's like one of the best.
One thing that was kind of bouncing around the void was that Kings of the Rings ran with Dan, whoever. We're going to try and convince people to just shovel money out for an NXT suite.
Ooh, that was.
We did that for Rumble. Well, Ricky put down the money for Rumble, and it was fucking amazing. So, Barclays, if we can get like 10 people, 15 people, that'd be amazing. So, be on the lookout for that.
Well, you know that I'm going to already be one, so.
Yeah.
Man.
I don't know. We'll see. It's in April. I'll definitely be employed by then, doing something. I'll be making good. I'll be making one way or another. Come December, I'm gonna be making money. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough. You heard it here first from Willie Wildfire.
Yeah, dude. I hate being unemployed. It's fucking terrible. It's been, let's say Friday. I don't even know what day it is. It's been. What's the date today?
Today's the 16th.
16th. It's been a little over 2 weeks. That's it. 2.5 weeks.
Man, that can be very agonizing. I actually do remember when I got fired from one of my jobs at at a hotel. I think it maybe took me about a month before I was able to find my feet and work at now 11 years at Walmart. So it is definitely a trialing process. It's definitely one of those things where some people will be like, I don't know, you still got fired though. That's the problem. You obviously did something wrong. It's like, don't judge me just because of one thing. Judge me because of all the good things that I've done. Give me that. And actually, I think this might be the first time I've ever actually acknowledged that I actually got fired from one job. But it was just one job, though. All the other jobs I've either quit or I've just said, yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done.
Dude, I was hoping so hard. I was like, I wanted to quit so bad. I wanted to get a new job and quit so bad because I knew it was only a matter of time before they're going to let me go. So this was no surprise to me in any way, shape, or form that I got let go. It was probably a few months overdue, to be honest. But I wanted so bad to get that job and just walk in and be like, I quit. I've never been fired. This is the first time I've ever been fired. Every other time I've left for school or I've just quit just for whatever reason. So it was the first time for everything. But
were you hoping to do like a like a CM Punk deal where you just like cut this major promo and then just being like, all due respect, I don't need to work for you, you need to work for me, and just some random bullshit like that?
No, because there's no hate between my former employer. Like there's no malice. There's just like the company was just not going in a good direction for the past like 6 months. So it was frustrating because like there would be days where I wasn't doing anything, like literally wasn't doing anything. So that's frustrating. So I've been applying to jobs since June, pretty much. Don't tell anyone. I've been I'd get home from work and just apply to job. I'd take like an hour and a half just to apply to jobs. Every day to see what was out there, and like before work I'd go on a few interviews and just see what would happen, and nothing really took off. But then the week before I was fired I had 2 interviews, one with ABC News Radio and the other one was a contract gig with a hospital. Actually, they need a videographer. I'll get a final answer after Thanksgiving from ABC, and then Mount Sinai I haven't heard anything back, so I didn't get the job there, but whatever. Other than that, I'm just going to bartend and hustle and bet on wrestling. Bet on wrestling. Betting on wrestling is a great investment. If all goes well, I have Survivor Series. 1, I won't have to eat a pepper, and 2, I'll be able to pay you back for Wrestlemania in 2 weeks. That's how long it takes to get the money out. But I'll be able to pay you back in full. So that'll be a sweet fucking deal.
Yeah, just remember that when you guys lose this Sunday, don't blame me for the pepper. Blame King Ricky for that.
I'm fucking blaming Dave for 1, picking Kairi Sane, and 2, not picking Ronda Rousey. I am ready. I like on the Word doc here. I literally chose like who picked what, like by name. So, like the tag team, Ricky and Mr. Fretz both chose AOP. So fine. But I'm going to tally up who the heroes and the losers of the team was. And then Dave gets all of his wrong, and I get all of mine right. I'm not eating that fucking pepper.
Oh my gosh. That is legitimately one of those things where I just remember King Ricky just having that look of just desperation, like, Dave, you know what you have to do. Just pick right, and we're going to be fine. And then he just picks the absolute opposite, and I just see the life just being sucked out of King Ricky's body. I'm just like, oh my god, this is like
that. I just wish for 5 minutes I could jump into his thought process, because then what he said afterwards, he was like, I see Becky dropping the title, and then winning the Rumble, and then getting it back. Like, what? Wait. Back up here. How does that go into your thought process? Like, at least when my first answer, talking in circles about Nick Giacobbe,
right,
at least that kind of made sense when it got to the end. But, like, when Dave has a thought and he gets to the end, you just kind of go back and go, wait a minute. What? Not only are none of those things going to happen, but none of those things that you think are going to happen make any sense.
I will say this, that it would be kind of cool to see in a way that happening. Not like, necessarily Charlotte winning, because I do kind of agree that, I would have picked Ronda, but Agent Cooper was in charge of that. And literally, I'm just like, you know what? I've already shown enough weakness with this team, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. I'm literally just going to be like, you know what? No, I'm hoping that this doesn't go too well. And I literally thought to myself, Dave is going to pick Ronda. Great, we're screwed. And then he'd show Charlotte. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a night of very interesting proportions, because
Dave's going to be here watching. I'm going to smack him a hug up one or the other. He's going to come. He comes to Hoboken. We're going to order some wings or Chinese food. I just watched the show. It's going to be fucking ridiculous.
It's one of those things where
it's this Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, it is this Sunday. Takeover War Games 2 is tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to the fact that it's actually going to be the actual War Games format than last year, where it was just like, oh, we're going to put, the tag teams in here, and hey, we're going to throw 2 men out in a couple minutes. I'm like, no, that's not what I remember War Games being. This was like...
Yeah, War Games was the NWO smashing Ric Flair's head in between a gate and a door.
But, I mean, if you were going to pick somebody that was going to be like exactly like NWO, I guess you have to go with Undisputed Era, because they're freaking amazing. This is going to be a very interesting event.
NXT's always tough to pick. It's very hard predictions. I struggle with NXT. WWE's easy. It's fucking money, literally. NXT's a little more difficult.
No, I definitely do agree with that. And I finally did get a chance to listen to like all the tiebreakers and stuff like that after I left the show, and some of them I'm kind of like, okay, this would be interesting. This would be okay. There are tiebreakers that make sense, and I do agree with Ricky when he was talking about, just like fuck the announce table deal, because that just gets so old, like so fast.
There's no thought into it. It's just okay, flip a coin.
But going back to my thought process earlier with Becky, I could see her winning the Rumble, facing Ronda at Mania, and being the first one to make Ronda tap out. If it's one of those things where it builds up to that moment, I would be okay with Charlotte picking up the victory, because it's like, okay, well, it's easy for her to get pinned, but it's going to be very difficult for her to submit, because Ronda, has she submitted in MMA? Because I don't recall her submitting.
Ronda?
Yeah.
Has she submitted someone in MMA? Off the top of my head, I don't know. I know, like, when she was at her peak, she just knocked people out in, like, 16 seconds. And then she got tapped out and knocked out a few times, but maybe not in MMA or UFC. I bet she has. She has to have. Maybe like Strikeforce or something.
I'm gonna look it up really quick before we close off the show, because that is something because this is one of those things where it's like, you know what, if she has not tapped out and Becky Lynch is the one to do it, I would legitimately be like super impressed. Okay, so mix.
Yeah, because Ronda is not losing until her contract is up. Period. Or this year's, he's not. If she is going to lose, she's going to lose at WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised if she wins, because she's a 1-year deal. Her deal's up like around WrestleMania time, and she's on record saying she wants to start a family soon. And if you've seen her make out with her husband after she wins, she might make it in front of the fucking crowd. She seems really horny. It seems like it's up to her. She might drop the belt at Mania, take a year off, have a family, and then come back. Or Vince can be like, listen, we're going to give you all this money, and you're going to be the face of this company. Especially now that Roman's gone. So, that's a decision she's going to have to make. And come WrestleMania time, she's going to win or lose, depending on her decision.
This is very true.
Now, who she goes up against, I still think it's going to be Charlotte, because Vince is so stubborn, and he books from Mania to Mania backwards, and it makes sense, but we now have Stone Cold Becky Lynch right now.
Yeah, it's very hard to deny that. Okay, so I got her record on here. She has not lost by submission. She's only lost by knockout. So if she takes a pinfall loss on Sunday, it's kind of one of those things where like, okay, that's okay, because there's a point where she does show a little bit of that, weak
spot. She's not going to.
No, I know. I'm just saying. But if she were to lose by submission, that's going to be the one that really stands out, because and they could
She's never tapped in her whole career. Period.
It's...
Oh, damn. I don't know if he's going to be okay with that.
I see that more happening with Becky Lynch than with Charlotte. I think that once, Charlotte tries to lock in the figure 8, Ronda's literally just going to be able to, like, go Super Saiyan and just, like, break Charlotte's leg by breaking up the entire submission move, and then we just get her locking in that god-awful armbar. I at first I was kind of like, it's still a good move, but then I kind of look at how she's doing it, and I'm like, wow, this is like...
Oh, Becky's?
No, Ronda's armbar. The really bad version that a lot of people are thinking like, oh, well, it looks good. It looks good.
It's a real armbar, just, not quite as real.
Yeah. It definitely looks watered down, is kind of what I'm getting
of course.
But, you look at Becky Lynch's armbar, and it literally looks like she's going to pop somebody's shoulder out. I mean, legitimately, we thought that she broke Alexa Bliss's, arm that one time on SmackDown, and then we find out, she's double jointed. Like, fuck, that's right.
It's a great spot.
Oh my god! If Alexa Bliss just keeps doing that throughout her career, I will still be cringing about it. But then I'll remember after she hits somebody in the face, like, oh crap, she's double jointed. That's right. It's just one of those things you don't really take into consideration.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
with her double jointed arm, it's just one of those things. Like, oh god, god dang it. Oh man. So, all right. So I think this is a good one to close off on. Will, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's always fun having you on. Always fun to listen to your opinions. Some I agree with, some I disagree with. But it's also really good to find out the behind the scenes deal. I think stuff between you and Dave, and honestly, I'm looking forward to the Twitter post where it shows him just being, like, completely knocked out, and you're just standing over him, like, take this pepper and eat it, you bitch.
Yeah. Looking back, yeah, I'm gonna have to eat some shit for this one. That's right, because oh wait, no, this isn't my show. Nate, thank you so much for having me. Round 2 was just as fun as round 1. I was completely sober this time.
Parts you'll remember of it.
Always a great time. If you want to find me everywhere, Tees and Thomas, ARASHUK. I don't use social media that much, but if you one thing social media has taught me, if you interact with me, I will interact with you back. You gotta make the first move, like a hot chick. Just make the first move. And of course, King's Wings Podcast, KOTR_podcast on all the feeds, anywhere to be found. Guys, 2019 is going to be huge for us, the Rant with Ant. And more to come. So stay tuned. If you're a fan of me and fan of what I do, fan of Ricky's, stay tuned because it's only going to get better. Nate, thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to come back.
Not a problem, man. You're always welcome. And I will say this, you guys, go check them out on their Kings of the Ring podcast. Like I said, it's one of the most entertaining shows that you'll ever listen to. You can also listen to a lot of the other stuff on Wrestle Addict Radio, which includes Rant with Ant, Who's Got Next, Gift of Podcast, a lot of crazy stuff happening in 2019, like he said. Mainly for us, it's going to be finally the interaction between Game Changer and Kings of the Ring Podcast. We're actually going to be seeing each other in person during WrestleMania time. It's going to be an absolutely insane deal. And it's probably going to be the last big event that I will remember, because if everything is true, I probably just signed my death warrant. So this will be kind of one of those things where it's like, I'll watch WrestleMania, and then after WrestleMania is done, it's like he was never seen again, because obviously, mysterious reasons. And literally, it just shows a picture of Issa just having like a bloody stiletto. It's like, this could mean a lot of things. This could mean
people will die.
That is literally what it's probably going to be. So for Willie, this has been the Game Changer. I've been Nate the Effing Great. Thank you so much for tuning in. Dave, all due respect, we love you, but at the same time, I think you go a little above and beyond, even for me, man. But at the same time, looking forward to having you on next month. Next month, guys, also is the 12 days of booking, fantasy bookings, whether it's talking about movies and stuff like that. But also tune in to a lot of the top lists for top matches this year, as well as top movies this year. There's going to be a lot to talk about. We're on the road right now to the Oscars. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane. So have a good one, guys. And remember, War Games is tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be one of those things where literally we're probably going to lose our minds. Go figure. It's NXT. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.
Peace!